Preseason week 2. Preseason continues right here next on Nine and Eight's Nonsense. Hello and welcome to Nine and Eight's Nonsense. We are here with you. We had football on Friday. We have football on Saturday. You will never go another weekend without football until you have to celebrate Valentine's Day. So remember that, cherish that, because we are here, and it's just good to be back. So welcome, 9 and 8 here with you once again. As always on Tuesdays, Jamal Armstrong. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well, bro. We're coming off of a W on Friday. We got to see, 2 series of Trey Lance. There's a lot to be excited, optimistic about this team. Obviously, we already know how deep and talented we are. And we got a, start of a new era with a new quarterback. And I know myself, I think you, and a few of us, I see Last Second Sports in here. He's talked about it as well, too. But we're maybe we might see the development of Trey Lance a little bit further along than some people originally thought. We saw some good stuff from him. It's really exciting.
I mean, I think that's where I want to start tonight is a lot of people are changing their narrative, I think, because of how good he looked on Friday. And I understand, a lot of Trey haters, a lot of that stuff, they continue to talk about how, he went against second stringers and all this and that and all that. But I really think that what he did on Friday really showed the continued growth that we've seen, but it also shows that this is who he is. Because now he's done this in multiple games now. He's played 3 different games, and he's made a deep shot in every single game. And they've been accurate deep shots. That's the thing that people are forgetting. These deep shots that he's making are dead on, right where the ball needs to be, touchdowns most of the time. And so when you have that, that's the kind of stuff that separates, the Kirk Cousins from the Justin Herberts, guys who are absolutely bar none more talented than everyone else in the NFL, and they can hit those shots. And not only to mention the fact that you have a quarterback who's hitting those shots with a system like Kyle Shanahan's where dudes are open all over the field. I mean, if you've ever watched all 22 for the 49ers, someone is open on that field all the time. And a lot of the time it's open in deep shots. So now they have a quarterback who can get them that ball. I'm beginning to think it's look out rest of the NFL because this is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm absolutely with you on that too. And what's kind of funny? I think obviously going forward, he's projected not to play this week, right? Because it's the joint practices. So I think it's Wednesday, Thursday. It's supposed to be heavy joint practices. And I know Kyle Shanahan's already come out and said he kind of, he wants to emphasize, he places more emphasis on those 2 practices than he does the actual gameplay. But it's really interesting. I think with that deep shot he did have to obviously to Danny Gray, 76-yard touchdown, that play, I almost consider it more of like I don't want to say like more of a medium play because I think it traveled about 35 or so, 35 yards in the air. Still really good. But one thing I kind of want to point out about that, if you, like you said, you had just mentioned it, if you watch the all 22, that ball, the trajectory, it never leaves the screen. And you know what that reminds me of? We look at Russell Wilson, who takes deep shots all the time. And he's known for having a moon ball, right? So pretty consistently, that ball's actually going pretty high up in the air and it lands in the receiver's hands like this, where they can still run. And it's really where only the receiver can get it. I'll say this. I've seen Trey Lance do that already. But I wanted to point out the differences between those two, because on that specific play, the ball never left the screen. And if you look back, if you remember to week 17 when we played the Texans last year, it was actually the same thing with the Deebo Samuel play that ended up being a touchdown. That ball never left the screen too. Although that one I do consider a deep shot. I think that one traveled like about 40 or so yards. To me, that just shows off, one, the arm strength that Trey Lance has, but also the touch that he's showing within this offense as well too. He's getting comfortable. I think I'll be honest. I think he's a bit further along comfortability wise in this offense than I think you would think a first year starter would be. But when I look at that throw, that's literally what jumps into my head. Wow, okay. He didn't have to, it wasn't a moon ball. He did exactly what he wanted to do, and he saw the coverage. He saw the safety slide over, and he knew it was Danny Gray versus a safety. And he's like, oh, I'll take my guy Danny Gray all day. So for Danny, a point for Danny Gray as well, too. That speed translates. He has legit NFL speed. Like, I don't think anyone was really questioning that.
Yeah.
That's kind of why we drafted him. But we can go ahead and check that mark. He's got world class, like really.
It's not only that. I think, and our friend Taryn Lewis mentions, he's learned how to slide now. I think that's a huge part of it. When you watch Lamar Jackson, the ability for him to make runs and slide is a huge detriment to that, or not is a huge not detriment, a huge advantage to that offense, because once a quarterback hits the ground, you can't hit him, and so with that, it allows them to, basically have a free weapon, a free running back weapon, where they not only they have Debo, not only they have Brandon Ayuk, not only they have Kittle, but now their quarterback is also a runner, and at the same time, that runner can then throw deep shots to wide open, Danny Gray or Brandon Ayuk or any of these guys. And I think that if we see this again in preseason game 3, I think. And you can tell me what you think of this, Jamal. I think if we see it again, people are going to start talking about the 49ers to be the Super Bowl champions, because of the fact is when you have the ability to not only hit guys wide open midfield, to run the ball like better than anybody else in the league, but to also hit deep shots and have a defense that is just it's engulfing. It destroys you. It makes you not want to play the team. Nobody wants to play that team. And the fact is there's so many question marks around the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Los Angeles Rams right now. The only team I don't think has question marks right now in the NFC, besides maybe Green Bay, is San Francisco. Because not only has this kid come out and shined every single time he's had a chance now, but he's also looking like he's way further along than anyone thought he would be his rookie year. And I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls some Patrick Mahomes stuff where they just go on a run and they're unstoppable, and they're the team that nobody wants to play, because I know it's one preseason game, but that's kind of our job, to watch these games and then overreact. And maybe it's an overreaction, but my overreaction is this might be the best team in all of football. And I think that Kyle Shanahan has literally outsmarted everybody in the NFL this time. I think that he's done something that I don't think anybody is ready for, and we only have to wait a couple more weeks to see his Grandmaster plan come to fruition.
I love it. You just got me more hyped. I'm ready for the season. I do think you said a few things there that I think are huge. Yeah. I wrote a post, I think it might have been last night, saying that the narrative has already started to shift a little bit. Like, we see that. Someone like myself, someone like you, and a lot of the Trey Lance fans, I would say, or people that are really supportive of him, we understand and know. Well, I'll even say this. I think even the media knows this. The media knows and understands that the 49ers have a very talented roster. You just said it. If it's not the best roster in the league, it's in the top 5. And that's just the truth. It really is. So when you have a top 5 roster like that, obviously, I don't even need to say this because health is important for every team.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need to stay healthy. If we stay healthy, this team has shown already that they have room for error. There's been errors in the past, and they've been able to overcome those things. So when you add a guy like Trey Lance, and I know we talked about this a little bit last week as well, too. When you add a guy like Trey Lance who has, I don't even like using this. I'm not going to use this word because I don't like it. When you have a chance where one play may be a throw in the dirt or an interception, the very next play that we get the ball back could be a 30-yard gain, could be a 40-yard gain, could be a play where he scrambles or has the threat of that he's going to scramble with his legs. And then like we just saw in this preseason, he actually does reset and throws the ball down the field. And I think that's something that we should point out as well, too. He does have the ability to run. Let's not get it twisted. Trey Lance is a passing quarterback. Like, he wants to throw the ball. He wants to get the ball to his weapons. And he knows that he has a George Kittle, a Debo Samuel, a Brandon Ayuk, a Jawan Jennings, who is a good 6'3", big type of wide receiver. Is he the fastest guy? No. Can he get solid separation through route running and then also make, contested catches? Absolutely. And the way that I've seen Trey, I almost said Troy, the way I've seen Trey throw the ball, he has the ability to get the ball and distribute it to these guys. And then when those plays aren't there, he also has the ability to say, you know what? Oh, the pocket's collapsing around me. Let me get out and try to make something, whether it's on the fly. Let me look down the field to see if I can still, or not look down. He keeps his eyes down the field. He can reset like he did. And then you say, you know what? The play's not there. I got to get out. Let me get whatever yardage I can get. And then, like you had just said, he slid. The kid slid. And he said, I don't know if he was serious. I legit don't know if he was serious or not. But he said, oh, it's like the first time in my life. I kind of believe him because he's like one of the bigger guys. He's quick.
He was the biggest dude in FCS.
Right. So I honestly believe him. But I'm also proud to see that he did slide. And that clearly says that Kyle Shanahan, the team, he knows that he needs to be healthy, right? He knows that he's now QB1, and we will I'm sure the players tell him, hey, bro, we're going to go as far as you take us. I truly believe they probably tell him that.
I think there's never been a more true statement spoken. I mean, it's just going to be as far as Trey will take them. And I think that this is kind of the thing that gets misconstrued with the Jimmy Garoppolo thing is Jimmy Garoppolo was carried by one of the best defenses that the 49ers have ever had, by an offense that literally could rely on a run game for most of it, as long as you didn't screw up and they win. If they have another defense that's as good as it looks like it might be, and they have another offense that can run the ball willingly, and they have a quarterback who can make a couple deep shots a game, I think that's already an improvement. And I think that's why Kyle Shanahan looks so giddy on the sideline, why Kyle Shanahan seems so excited for this to be the football team this year, because it really feels like, this is a whole new world, I think, for Kyle, for the 49ers, for our fans, because when was the last time you saw a quarterback for the 49ers throw deep shots? Because for me, I think it was Steve Young or Jeff Garcia, maybe. And Jeff Garcia wasn't even a big
Cap
guy. But Cap's deep shots were a little different. It wasn't this. It was more.
Yeah.
Cap didn't have the kind of touch that Trey's possessing. I mean,
he definitely didn't have the touch.
Games
Agreed.
on TV, and I understand this is a TV angle, but this is a good example. When you're watching a game on TV and the ball isn't leaving the camera, so the camera never isn't seeing the ball in the shot, it just goes to show you how good these throws are and how accurate these throws are. And it's funny because a lot of people said, well, when Josh Allen came out, he had no accuracy, he had the body, he had everything. Well, this kid has the body. He has the accuracy. I think his middle to intermediate accuracy is maybe a little off, but that's something that comes in time. When your deep ball accuracy is on, you can beat anybody. I mean, you could beat anybody because at any time you can be behind in a game. You throw a deep ball, game's tied. You throw a deep ball, you're only down 3. Walk down the field, get another field goal. That it just changes the way the 49ers will have to play football this year because of the fact is they don't play behind very often. And if they get behind, now Kyle has this new thing in his playbook where he can just shoot a deep shot. And that's one of the things that the Chargers, are so good at because their defense has been kind of wishy-washy. Herbert would just throw a deep ball and make an amazing play to put their team within 7. Now, we're talking about a completely different football team here. And I'm geeked about Trey. And I was a big Justin Fields guy, but I think that Kyle was right. I think Kyle saw something in this kid, saw something in the way he talks, the way he acts, maybe, because Trent Williams is the best tackle in the world. There's no one who comes close. It's like Trent and then the next guy are like way down here, and he's talking this kid up like he's the greatest football player he's ever seen. Right. So I just don't think that happens.
Well, I got a question for you, Nate. I got a question. I'm so glad that you ended it right there because what you said there about Trey Lance, I agree with. I was with you in terms of wanting Justin Fields. I was a big Justin Fields fan too, and I do like Trey Lance. Like I wanted him or Justin Fields. It was those two, and I'll be honest. I did like Zach Wilson as well too. I just love the pure arm talent that Zach Wilson has. I feel like he has the ability to make any throw on the field. I was personally like kind of impressed, and maybe the word I should use is awestruck with his ability to make like off-platform throws. I like the way Zach Wilson can throw the ball just from a mechanics point, from the way he releases. I like that. Anyways, this isn't about Zach Wilson, but I think you said something there that I wanted to touch on, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it too. I think going into this draft this past year, when we decided to draft Trey Lance, Who else were they talking about that he would be interested in? They were saying, "Oh, Mac Jones," right? I truly believe, and I'm kind of curious what you think about this. I'll probably ask some other people about this too. I think when you're having those meetings, probably pre-draft, so before the draft, not only with Trey Lance, but even before you're having those meetings with Trey Lance, I feel like Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, maybe I don't know anybody else who needs to be in there. They probably had conversations like this. You know what? It looks like we're potentially going to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to look to find our heir apparent. He hasn't proven to be able to stay healthy. And then when he's gone, our seasons get derailed, right? Like that kind of happens. Yeah. When he's not there, we haven't had a solid enough backup to really make a true push for a championship. So that being said, let's go into this season with Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's see if we can draft a guy, have him sit a bit. But the reason I mention that is I feel like Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and those guys said, look, if we're really going to go get a guy, let's go get a guy that has all the talent. But not only that, I need a film junkie because Kyle Shanahan's a film junkie. He needs a guy that he can probably relate to. He needs a guy that's like going to talk X's and O's with him, that he can probably call at 3, 4 in the morning and say, hey, look, I know you're probably asleep, but I was watching such and such play. I wanted to know if you notice this. Hey, coach, why are you calling me at 3 or 4 in the morning? But I won't even lie, coach. I actually was watching yada, yada, yada right now, too. Like, I feel like those kind of conversations and that type of a guy is what Kyle Shanahan probably was looking for if you're going to move off of not only a Jimmy Garoppolo, but just the type of quarterback that I think works best with Kyle Shanahan is a guy that's going to be deep in the playbook. Because I think naturally naturally coaches have to kind of do that. Like they're going to be all about the playbook and they want a guy that's going to come in and run their system well. Not only just good or just during the season, but like, how do you carry yourself during the off season? How do you carry yourself in the locker room? How do your teammates see you? What kind of energy you have? I feel like you need a guy that's all about football. And yes, I do believe Trey Lance's ceiling is really high. Is he raw because he hasn't played a lot of snaps? For sure, 100%. But when you draft a guy, the plan is to develop those guys, right? So if Kyle Shanahan, fell in love with the guy and the type of makeup that Trey Lance has, you can work with the physical tools that he has. And we already know how smart he is, right? So I don't know. I kind of wanted to hear your couple thoughts on that. What do you think about that? Do you think that Kyle Shanahan went into this process thinking, I need to get me a guy that's just all about like football?
I think Mac Jones was the pick when they were at 12. I think it was going to be Mac Jones. When I was, this happened right around the time I was with Niners Nation, and everyone I talked to was like, who was like pretty in tune with the team and did a lot of work around the team was like, they have to pick a quarterback. They cannot go into another season with Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I think the pick was Mac Jones at 12. Absolutely. I always thought it was Mac Jones. I did a show. I'll never forget this. I did a radio show for Niners Nation where I literally just talked about Mac Jones for 50 minutes and what he did well, what he didn't do well, all that stuff, because I felt so strongly that the pick was Mac Jones. The minute they traded to 3, that changed. And that was always my thing, was it changed because you don't spend 3 first-round picks on Mac Jones. It just doesn't happen. And I respected Mac Jones, and I thought Mac Jones was really talented. And I still think that Mac Jones could be potentially talented. I think he's kind of a knucklehead when it comes to like the stuff he says and does in his own personal life. The stuff we did with Brian Burns today was kind of unacceptable. Like that happened with Kyle. Kyle would kill him, and I'm sure Bill Belichick did kill him. He yelled at Brian Burns today during their joint practices. You can look it up probably. Anyways, and I think that when we talk a lot about these NFL players and quarterbacks specifically, we talk a lot about the hand size, the arm talent, the arm strength. We don't talk a lot about how smart they are. And I'm not going to shit on Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo I don't think was football smart. I don't think he was smart between the ears when it came to being able to diagnose things, understand what's going on. Not only is Trey Lance football smart, and you can see it by watching him play, but I think Trey Lance is people smart. And what I mean by that, it's a really simple explanation. What I mean by that is this is a smart kid who knows what's going on in life. He knows what he needs to do, and he knows how to protect his image in a way where everyone likes him. And I think that that's something that Garoppolo was too adamant on. I think this kid has found like the perfect medium where he's still a human being. He still has his own likes, his own wants, all that stuff. but he's the perfect symbolization for what this franchise is. And don't get it twisted, outside of the Steelers and the Patriots, maybe the Niners might be more so than them. This is one of the most important sports franchises in the world. And so for someone to be given the keys to the castle in Santa Clara, they have to be more than just football smart, more than just people smart. They have to be a symbol of greatness. And I think that when you hear this kid talk, you see how this kid acts, you see how he conducts himself on the football field, you hear the stories of how he talked with Kyle, all this stuff, and it's all kind of coming in now where we're 3 weeks away from him starting his first career season, and you see it all start to come together. This kid is super special. And I feel like when I talk about him or I read about him, I feel like how I read Kansas City felt about Patrick Mahomes. Because Patrick Mahomes, when he was drafted by the Chiefs knew, and Vish, who does Blake and Vish Sports, I've had him on the show before, he told me when Kansas City drafted Patrick Mahomes, they knew they had the best football player in the world. They knew it. Absolutely knew it. And they didn't tell anybody. They kept it real quiet. And then when he started that year, they started bragging about him because he was that good. I think this kid is that good. I think Kyle Shanahan sits, at night after his wife goes to bed and just sits there and just gets giddy about the fact that he has this kid who's about to be the face of the NFL. And I think that this kid is smart enough at 22, talented enough at 22, has a brain enough at 22 that he's ready to take that and run with it. And I think that and I know this is a super early assessment, but I mean, I consume everything about this kid. I think I've consumed everything about this kid since the Houston game, and everything I've seen says there's no way they miss on this. This kid is the real damn deal.
Absolutely. And I think just to tie that all together, I mean, I agree with you 100%. We know the type of talent that he has. It drips off him, right? We've seen him play. We know he's athletic. We understand that. We know he can throw the ball. And I'll say this, I'm willing to go so far as to say he has more arm talent than Colin Kaepernick. And that's different than, oh, no, Colin Kaepernick throws the ball harder than him. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like we mentioned earlier, different arm angles, the different trajectories of certain balls that need to go 30 yards versus a ball that needs to go 50 yards. Sometimes you need to be able to just fire one in there. Cap could do that as well too. But I've seen the variation of the type of ball he needs to throw. And I saw something on Friday in that Danny Gray touchdown that says to me, okay, he's getting a little bit more comfortable. And if he's more comfortable and knows what he's seeing, he knows exactly how he wants a certain ball to get there, right? So where last year, as he's learning on the fly, because it is a complex offense that he's stepping into. And he did have to start a game, and he did well, yes. Were there bumps and bruises? Did it take a little bit for Kyle Shanahan and him to get on the same page? For sure. That's normal. Totally get it. But where I see growth already from last year to even just this one preseason game is, okay, you know what? He's got a safety on him. He's running this he's running like a slot fade. It was kind of like a slot fade down the left hash. You know what? Let me take a little bit off, and I'm going to sell this right over to where he doesn't have to lose any steam. He doesn't have to lose any stride. And like I said earlier, the ball didn't leave the screen. So that's a variation of a type of throw. It wasn't quite a moon ball, but he knew what he was looking for. He knew what he saw, and he knew exactly how he wanted to attack that. The more, not even just Trey Lance, just quarterbacks in general, as they get comfortable in their offenses, they understand and learn how certain balls need to be delivered. And that's something I think we're going to continue to see over the course of this season with him. Will it always be perfect? No. But if we're going to be just totally real and honest, every quarterback makes certain mistakes. And then also, sometimes other players make good plays. It can be a well-thrown ball, and it could be tipped at the last second because whatever corner had the speed recovery to make it up. Sometimes those things happen, right? But what I'm noticing is the progression, the fact that he's keeping his eyes down the field. He doesn't have any tells exactly where he's going to go. He can keep his head, perfectly straight. And then at the last second, boom, my guy's here. I'm releasing it. And he has anticipation. Like he's releasing it early to where his guy can run down the ball and continue for a touchdown. So yes, we know the talent that he has clearly drips off him. We know the smarts that he has. We know the team that he has. He's set up in a really good position. He really is.
Absolutely. And so obviously Trey Lance is going to play this week, so we don't have to continue talking about it. I just think that, it needed to be said how geeked I was after Friday night. I think Friday night was really exciting. I mean, it's really fun to watch your team look good. It's really fun to watch your team look good in a way you haven't seen them look good ever in the Kyle Shanahan era. And I think that was the thing, is even Nate Sudfeld was throwing bombs. Nate Sudfeld was throwing balls. That's wild to me. And so it was just an exciting night, and it was a fun first preseason game. I'd love to talk to you about some of the players that really stood out to me in this game. Number one, I think, and the guy we have to talk about first of all, of course, is Samuel Womack. This kid, they cut DeQuise Denard, I think it was, because
Darquez,
Darquez. I'm sorry, that's my bad. It's hard to pronounce names sometimes. And he was the starter, and they cut him because Womack's taking that job. That's Womack's job. The guy is probably going to be the slot corner. So it's going to be most likely Mosley and Ward, of course, and then Womack playing slot, and then I guess you have Ambry and Lenore there as well. Still, I mean, this kid was all over the place, and it's funny because me and you've talked about this a couple times that before the season, the Niners hit on these 5th round gem picks. And this kid is looking like another just killer 5th round pick who is a 5-year starter, like right out the gate, just going to be the king. And so, I mean, what did you see from Womack? I mean, I just couldn't get over what I was seeing. This kid, it was amazing. And it's just mind blowing that this kid, went as low as he did.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Some of the guys that know me, that talk with me in spaces, know that I'm the type of person I like to give flowers. That's what Chris, I think, Roscoe's has kind of termed it. And I think this is a perfect time to do that. Myself, you, Rohan, Marco, Jesse, a few of, and there's others, there's more too, but those are the ones I talk to pretty consistently. We've all consistently been saying that we liked what we've seen from Sam Womack. And right after the draft too, like a lot of us did some research on the guy. I'm pretty sure I actually was the first person that put out, because I did it right after we draft, like on draft night when we drafted him. I was like, I want to start finding out more about this guy. I'm hearing a couple things. I'm hearing teams were higher on him than the media or the average fan was. And that's why we picked him where we picked him, because if we didn't, he was going to be the next round. Teams were high on him. Front offices were very high on Sam Womack, and with good reason. Yes, he's 5'9". I believe I was the first person that actually put out just the arm comparison. His arms are a shade under 32. I think it was 32 inches. For comparison, I put this tweet out. You guys can go see it. Richard Sherman stands 6'3". His arms were 32 inches. This kid is 5'9", 190. Ran, I think, high 4.3s, low 4.4s. It shows on the field, and he's perfect. Like, if you're gonna have a nickel corner, in terms of measurements, it's got to be like perfect, right? And what I had put out was, I didn't want to say like he was going to be super great or he was going to be so bad, but the word I used it very specifically. I said intriguing. His measurements and what he can be is very intriguing. And we saw a real, I don't even want to call it a flash. It was like the Samuel Womack coming out party. Like, we'll see what happens in the regular season, but he was the star of the show. Obviously, it was Trey Lance's, his first real reps that we're seeing. But after Trey Lance was done, it was the Sam Womack show. And why is that so interesting? Well, for a guy that's 5'9", 190, and those type of arms, I mean, I had said it before. Some of us have said it as well too. You're going to see a guy like him who's going to press at the line of scrimmage, and when you're physical the way he is, and you have long arms like that, it can keep you from getting in a lot of trouble. Not only that, the difference between him and K'Wan Williams, this dude athletically is just on another tier up than K'Wan Williams was too. I believe K'Wan ran like a 4.5. K'Wan's very smart and a really, really, really solid tackler. And he will make plays on the ball when they're there. Like, he does that. Absolutely. But he's not going to get you, 6 interceptions in like 3 years. That's not the type of player he is. This kid really intrigues me because he has really, really, really good man cover skills. And I do think that his zone coverage ability can improve and will improve, especially in the defense that we run as well too. Yeah. But it's the ability to be sticky like that. And this isn't something new. He's been doing this in college. He walked on at Toledo, and in 2021, this last season, I think he had 17 PBUs, which led the nation, and he is Toledo's all-time leader in pass breakup. So him being sticky like this in coverage, this isn't new. This is actually what he does. And I kind of am starting to get the vibe that the 49ers just needed to see it inside of a regular season, inside of a real live game to kind of just validate what they've thought about this player. Womack and Burford, I believe they see these two as probably day one starters. If you can get day one starters out of this draft like that right away, that's huge. And you take that. I think the traits that he has made it to where, okay, we can, like you had just mentioned, we can drop Darqueze Dennard, who I never saw as someone who was going to make the team. And we can get into secondary stuff on later dates. But I think because of the ability that this kid has, and to potentially be a starter from day one, you got to give Sam Womack credit. You got to give Burford credit for the way that they're playing. You got to give the veterans on this team credit, but you also have to give the front office credit for finding these guys. Like, we just have to give those guys credit.
I mean, the fact is the fact that they keep hitting these fifth-round gems. And I think that the other fifth-round gem I want to talk about, and I think he was a fifth-round gem. He might have been later, Talanoa Hufanga. I think that we have to talk about Talanoa Hufanga. When they let Jaquiski Tartt go, I was very against it. Not a huge fan of letting Jaquiski Tartt go because I understand he was injured, may not have been the best, but he was there and he was consistent when he did play. I'm beginning to think I was absolutely wrong. Talanoa Hufanga looks like a completely different player this year already. They had the mic'd up go. If you haven't checked out the mic'd up they did for Talanoa Hufanga, you should check that out because there's something about this guy. There's something about this, and I understand it may not always translate to the football field. He may struggle in coverage or whatever, but from what we saw in that preseason game and what you see in that mic'd up, it just feels like this is a kid who can be next to Jimmy Ward for the whole season, nonstop, just play great safety. I mean, they have the best corners they've ever had probably since Richard Sherman. And if Talanoa Hufanga can play just decent safety next to Jimmy Ward, who is the best safety in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. He's the best. I don't care who else there exists. He's the best safety in the NFL. Don't get it twisted. I'm just so excited because of how this kid acts and how he wants to be great and how he interacts with the rest of the team. These guys are incredibly likable. And I think that that's something that people don't understand as much who aren't Niner fans. It just feels like Kyle Shanahan, not only does he draft for talent and speed and the ability to run his scheme, but it feels like he drafts these guys who just are high motor, high quality guys who have actual human personalities. Like, you've heard the stories about Deebo Samuel when he's, behind closed doors. He's like the nicest dude in the world. All he wants to do is go out there and play football. You've seen the video. Deebo says, "Let's run it again, Kyle." Like, how many guys are doing that? The Niners are just different, man. And it reminds me, and you probably won't, I don't know if you'll like this or not, Jamal. It reminds me of the Warriors. The Warriors with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, the San Francisco 49ers, this roster reminds me of the Warriors. They all like each other. They all want to be great. They've all almost tasted greatness. It's so close they can taste it. They were in the NFC Championship game last year. They are, one good quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl, and I think that they know it. And the way they talk, they know it. The way they interact with Trey Lance, they know it. And it's just, it's infectious. It's infectious to watch. You can't help but smile watching these guys because this is what we saw in the Bay Area with the Warriors. You kind of saw Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, like, stuff was happening, in the early years. They were making it further and further in the playoffs. And then what happens? They go on this, tremendous 5-year run where they go to the finals every single year. And maybe they don't win it every year, but they're the best at the best. And they're always good and no one beats them. And when they do get beat, it's because they get beat by someone who is just better. And so, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just, and it could totally be like an overreaction. I understand that. Like, that's what this show's about. You know who I am. I overreact. I'm trying to be positive, but this Niners team is unbelievable without seeing them play in a regular season game, just as people and what they look like they're doing. And Talanoa Hufanga is proving everybody on Twitter wrong, and that's super impressive to me.
Oh yeah, and you touch on a couple things I'd like to touch on there. I'll touch real quickly on just the Warriors thing. Many people know I've been on your show. I'm a Laker fan. I do really respect what the Warriors have done. I live up here in Northern California, so I do watch Warriors games from time to time. And when it's playoff time, I definitely watch because you have Stephen Curry, one of the greatest. I'm going to respect that. You have Klay Thompson, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Like, I respect greatness, even if it's not on my team. So that being said, I do think there are certain similarities when it comes to the Warriors and when it comes to the 49ers. And one specific one that just clearly sticks out in my head was this season. What did the Warriors do this season? Well, let's go back even one season prior. Didn't have a great record, got bounced by, it just so happened to be my Lakers in the play-in game. But what kind of happened during that season, though? There were injuries. Certain guys were gone. Klay Thompson wasn't there. You started seeing the emergence of a guy named Jordan Poole. And then what happened this season? Jordan Poole broke out. Jordan Poole's a very good player. How does that happen on a team that has Steph Curry, who's the number one option, Klay Thompson, who came back about halfway through the season, maybe a little less than halfway through the season. Klay Thompson comes back. Yeah, Draymond Green, who's one of the better leaders in all of basketball. Really what I'm trying to get at is it's more of a veteran-laden Warriors team than it is a young team, right? And Jordan Poole was still in a position to where he felt emboldened, embraced by these veteran players that said, you know what? If we're going to win this thing, we're going to need you, kid. We're going to need you. We got Klay Thompson coming back just off of an injury. Let's see what happens. We don't know if he's not going to be 100% right away, and maybe he won't be the same player. Will he still be good? 100%. But when you have a guy like Jordan Poole who gets that validation to become the player and just be the player that he is, right? He didn't feel like he needed to fill a role or be something that he's not. I really respect that, and I tie that to the 49ers because, well, we're a veteran-laden team. We've got George Kittle. We've got Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Like, these guys are here for a couple years now. Like, they're not new to this. You have Kyle Shanahan, and you've got even guys from the past. You've got your Pierre Garçons from the past. You've got your Kyle Juszczyk, who's been here going on 6 years. Like, you have guys like that who are real good stand-up guys that truly care for their teammates. And one tradition that the 49ers have, other teams have this too, but obviously as a 49er fan, I see this. When these guys score their first touchdowns, they make sure, a player goes to make sure to get that ball and give it to these guys. What does that do? Oh, that tells you that they care about that player and they want them to remember that moment and have a little memento. Like, that's culture.
Absolutely.
All that is culture. That's all really important stuff that you need to have in not only for your team going forward. That's literally a part of team building that builds the culture, not only from this year, but that starts when Kyle Shanahan came. Did we have a great roster when he first came? No, it's been a lot of turnover. It's been a lot of drafted guys, and they've hit. Like, that's really good. So I will agree with you in terms of just the Warriors, 49ers comparison. Yeah, for sure. You can see when these guys embrace these young players to reach their potential, like, it's scary. And I do think that Trey Lance is in a very similar position. Funny enough, Jordan Poole and Trey Lance are friends. And I'm sure they talk about this stuff. I'm sure they've talked about what was it like getting added to a Warriors team and being like that type of guy. Because when he first came out, I like Jordan Poole. I watched back when he was with Michigan. I've been a fan of this kid. But to say that I knew he was going to become this player, I can't tell you that I knew that was going to come. I thought he'd be a consistent, like, 15 to 17 point scorer a game, like maybe 15. He's become a really good player. He plays fast, and obviously playoff basketball is a little bit different, but he was emboldened to become this player. If that happens with a guy like Trey Lance and the skill set that he has and the talent and the weapons that he has, it's really good. I'll let you wanted to say something before I go to Hufanga?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I think that that the comparison, you can find the comparisons, the exact comparisons, right? Trey Lance is coming to the 49ers, right? The 49ers are filled with veterans. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Maybe not Brian. Yeah. He's been in the league for at least 2 years. Trey Lance is coming in, and these guys are going to make him a better football player. Trent Williams. Who doesn't want to inherit Trent Williams? That's one of the things I think that makes Trey the luckiest dude on the planet. He inherits the best tackle in the world. And then, before we get in the end, I do want to talk a little bit about the way that the Niners have kind of set this team up on the offensive line, because the center, I'm a little questionable, and we will talk more about that as we continue the preseason and we do this show every Tuesday. But Burford, phenomenal looking. Banks, great. McGlinchey looked like old McGlinchey.
He's looking good, yeah.
Even without Trent there, they looked great on offense. And so I'm just geeked, man. Like, I just feel like Trey is the missing link that's going to set them up to really just to dominate. But continue with Hufanga. Yeah. I want to hear more.
No, 100%. Yeah. So when it comes to Hufanga, like, I feel like this needs to be said. Like, football is much more than just speed. And I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I have my concerns. I've had my concerns about Talanoa Hufanga. And I'm a USC fan. Like, I've had my concerns about him. But there's one thing that, if we just add context to it, it's okay to have concerns so long as it's, in my opinion, fair concerns. Just be fair about it. If we're going to sit here and say, like, oh, Talanoa Hufanga, he just had a pretty good preseason game. Like, that's good. And then come out next week or week one and he plays 95% like good snaps where you're not really concerned or worried about him. And then there's one play where he gives up maybe a 30-yard gain. Does that mean he sucks? Absolutely not. Because guess what? That's unfair to say that he sucks. Oh, this is why we can't have him be a starter. He's not this. He's not that. Last I checked, even the best safeties are out of position sometimes. And that's where I say we need to be fair. Is he the fastest player ever? No. Is he a very heady and instinctual player? Yes. And what I mean by heady is he's smart. He's another guy that's a film junkie. He's going to be in there. He literally wants to be great. You go back and watch literally all of the training camp practices. Who's the first person on the field? Yeah, that guy, Talanoa Hufanga. He's the first one out there. He, as you just mentioned earlier, there's an 8-minute where he was mic'd up this past week. He's the type of guy that's going to rally guys. He's just a dude. He's one of those guys who loves football. You can tell that he loves football. He's a ball of energy. Guys love him. You saw guys like Trent Williams coming up to him, Trey Lance, like they love him. They love this guy. D'Amico Ryans loves this guy. And for me, my main concerns had been in last year was that I saw him be out of position a few times. But that's going to happen every time. He was a rookie, and I got to shout out my guy Roscoe's because he coined the term, at least as far as I know, let rookies grow. We've got to do that. And for me, I've had long conversations with Chris about this, and it's made me realize, you know what? It's okay to have concerns, but just be fair about them. Just because he has a play that might not be great doesn't mean he's trash. It's almost starting to border on the Mike McGlinchey train. When Mike McGlinchey has 90% good snaps, yet he has one play that's bad. Yeah, people start saying, "Oh, well, you can't." No, plays are going to happen. Like that's going to happen. But when it comes to Hufanga, like, listen, I'll say this, and this is just to be fair. Marcelino Ball had an interception, right? Jordan Love had 3 picks. 2 of them were Womack. One of them went to Marcelino Ball on, I forgot what down. It might have been 3rd down. I forgot what down it was. 49ers were playing quarters defense. And who caused that interception to happen? Yeah, it was Talanoa Hufanga who read Jordan Love's eyes and slid over, and it caused Jordan Love to have to throw the ball a little bit higher. Green Bay wide receiver tipped it, bounced in the air. Marcelino Ball gets the interception. Like, if we're going to talk about Talanoa Hufanga being out of position, he makes these mistakes, let's be fair and give the man his credit for the good plays that he does makes as well. He is a smart player. He is in position more times than not. And I'm saying that as someone who's literally been watching him, being very critical and saying, you know what? He's not out of position as much as I thought he was going to be. And it's still preseason. It's preseason right now. We'll see what happens when, week 1, week 2, week 3, consistency has to be a thing. I think that it can be for him. I just think it's gotten so bad. We've talked so much about him that we don't want to give him the credit. And he's a better safety than I think some people are willing to say at this point. Doesn't mean he's a top tier safety. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not all bad. And I think it's unfair, some of the criticism that he has been getting. Also, he's been playing, last thing I'll say about this, he's been playing single high safety as well, which I had been concerned about as well too, especially because I'd rather see Jimmy Ward back there. Well, last I checked, that big play that I'm sure most people remember this past weekend, that big play where he came down in his run fit and hit the Green Bay running back. Yeah, he was in single high safety then. So like I'm saying, like people have to be willing to change their thoughts when new information comes out. Is it okay to be concerned? Yes, I have certain concerns too, but give credit where it's due. He's been playing some phenomenal ball so far.
Quickly before we wrap up too, make sure you hit up at Roscoe's Mister on Twitter. That's who we're giving the flowers to. Makes the best graphics on Twitter. Don't get it twisted. No one better. Make sure he'll make the banners. He's made a lot of the graphics you've seen for the show. Any graphics you've ever seen, pictures for the show that when you open up the show, they're there. The guy makes the best stuff ever. Make sure you're hitting him up. His prices are great right now. They're going to go up as he becomes bigger and bigger. So make sure you get in on the low end and then you can stick with them on the lower prices. But if you don't get in now, you're missing out. But real quick, I almost called you Roscoe's.
Hey,
Jamal, as we're closing out here, I just want to get real quick. Just give me. We're gonna close out here in the next 5 minutes, but give me 3 players you want people to watch this Saturday against Minnesota, since Trey Lance will not be playing. I just want to know who are your top 3 guys you're really excited to watch.
Okay, I love it. I love this question. So I know we just very, very, very briefly talked about it, and we'll talk about him going forward because I'll have thoughts on him later. But I'll say one, Marcelino Ball. I'm starting to wonder if he's going to end up being that next linebacker because I don't think we're going to be able to keep Greenlaw and Aziz. Probably one's going to have to go. I'm wondering if this kid can be the next guy that we kind of develop because the 49ers, they develop linebackers really well. Like it's probably time to start saying that. If we have arguably the best or the best wide receiver linebacker trio in the game, like we should probably start. Like who knew about Aziz Al-Shire before 2.5 years ago? Who knew about Dre Greenlaw before maybe a couple years ago? Some people did because I think he played at Alabama, if I remember correctly. Might be wrong about that. But no, so Marcelino Ball, I thought he flashed really well in preseason game 1 versus Green Bay. Yes, he had the interception, but I'll be honest, like he runs a 4.5, but I happened to be at the game, so I saw this interception. When he moves, like almost like a running back. Like he got the ball in his hand and he knew what to do. He got out of there. He's not very big. He's like 6 foot, about 215, 220. But that's actually okay because in the way football is played in the modern NFL, you actually don't see your 6'5", 240, 250 type middle linebacker anymore. Yes, we do still have Fred Warner, 6'3", about 220. About 220. Remember, he was a safety in college, hybrid safety linebacker. He's bulked up a little bit more, found his playing weight. So, yeah, although he's 6 foot, you got guys like Dre Greenlaw and Al-Shire. I think they're both about 6'2", about 215, 220. So he fits the same mold that the 49ers have been looking for. So Marcelino Ball, I thought he played really well, played really fast, showed good hands, showed ability to return the ball with the ball in his hands. So that's one guy to look out for. I think he could have a somewhat quick ascension or kind of a quiet ascension that when one of these guys is moved, he kind of slides in. That was huge. Marcelino McCrary Ball. The second one, I'm still going to give Trey Sermon a shot. I didn't think that he got a fair shot this past week. Well, let me not say that. It wasn't a fair shot. The plays that he was in and the plays that were negative gains, I didn't think were his fault. I thought the O-line played well most of the time. But I'll be honest, the plays he was on the field, he kind of got the short end of the stick. And it almost sounds like a cop-out. But like go back and actually watch his negative gains. You can see a couple plays where the O-line didn't block certain guys and Green Bay guys were getting into the backfield. So I actually didn't think that was quite his fault. He's a guy I'm still willing to give another shot. And then the last one I'll say, I'm going to go ahead and go with Jordan Mason. I'd heard of him in the past, and I've heard people talk about it who had been at camp. And I know that's 2 running backs, 1 linebacker. I hadn't been at camp, but people had talked about it and said like, oh, this guy's pretty good. Well, me seeing him in person, I literally like said this after I watched him. I'd heard of the guy. Now I can say I'm aware of the guy. He's actually a little bit bigger than I thought he was. He does have nice, like soft hands. He is a receiving threat out of the backfield. And he's also a really good runner between the tackles as well. Like I went to the game with Treyway, and we both, and also with Tanya, and all 3 of us kept saying like, this kid just falls forward. Even if the hole doesn't look like it's very big or the offensive line looks a little bit kind of like shoddy or spotty on a specific play, he finds ways to like fall forward, and he's pretty quick. He's got a little.
I think we lost Jamal. Live internet, live radio here, people. That's what happens sometimes, you know?
Can you hear me?
Lost. No, yeah, you're frozen, but you're good now.
My bad. I'll get this last little part in because I'm done. I'm wrapping it up right now. I'm literally wrapping it up. I'm sorry about that. I think he probably makes this team, but I also think it's going to be between him and JaMycal Hasty because I feel like JaMycal Hasty comes into every season or every preseason running for his life. I think he honestly is an okay back. I think he's okay. He looks faster though. I'll give him that. Yeah. He looks faster this year than he did to me last year. I actually got to watch him. I watched a couple games last year as well. He looks pretty quick. He looks real spry. But I do think right now he's probably running for his job. and I think he's probably battling with Jordan Mason for that spot. I think one of them probably doesn't make the team. I think it's probably TDP's a lock. Elijah Mitchell, he's going to be a lock. Trey Sermon should be a lock, but that's not a for sure thing. I think he will make the team, though. I do. And then JaMychal Hasty, Jeff Wilson, Jordan Mason. I think it's going to come down to Jordan Mason and JaMychal Hasty. For my money, I do. From what I saw, I like Jordan Mason. I think he should make the team.
So I'm going to try to be quick on mine. Mine are Ray Armstrong. I think Ray Armstrong could potentially be a guy they use like Deebo Samuel, where they run him out of the backfield. What did I say? I did it again. Armstrong. Did I really do it at Cloud? I did it again. Ray McLeod. Golly, sorry guys. Ray McLeod. I think they use him like they use Deebo. I think the fumble kind of made me a little questionable about him, or it wasn't a fumble. I'm sorry. Was it a fumble? It was a fumble, right? He fumbled the ball.
Yes, he did.
Okay. He fumbled the ball, which made me question a little bit, but I like him. I think he's fast. I think that he could be using that role. They are going to use him on punt and kick return. I just want to see what more he has to do because he's probably going to make the team most likely.
For sure.
My other ones are actually kind of interesting. My other one's Kinlaw. I need to see more from Kinlaw. I love Javon Kinlaw. I think he's huge. I think he can be just the nastiest motherfucker on the planet. He's just never, ever done it. And I think that I just need to see more from him as the preseason goes on and he becomes more confident on his feet and more confident on his knees. And then my last one is actually Ambry Thomas because Ambry Thomas, I think, could be a tremendous third corner.
Yep.
But I just have not seen it. He got beat again on Friday. And I just need to see him not get beat so easily. I understand he's playing third corner, but these corners generally, they get hurt. It happens. You know? I don't know if Charvarius Ward plays all 15 games, that's great, right? But if Ambry Thomas, is going to be on this team, I need to see a little bit more from him. So those are like quick 3 hits. There's so many players. I could talk about Jake Brendel, how I need to see him play center better. I could talk about Lenore and how I'd like to. It's wild to me that Womack is better than Lenore. There's so many different players I could talk about, but it's preseason week 2. We're not in the third game yet. We'll be back again next Tuesday. Jamal, if people want to check out you or talk to you on Twitter, how can they do it?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter or check out my stuff that I post here and there, my name right here, Young Jaw, just add a 49. So the number 49, the number's 49 in ER, Young Jaw 49er. That's my name on Twitter. That's where you can find my stuff right now. I will be, like we already know, first show co-hosting here with Nate for this season. I will also be on with Amin the Dream. That's details for that are getting worked out. We'll be going every other week of the regular season. And then you can see me guest appearing on a few other shows as well, too. I'll be sure to mention it here on the week to week or on the weeks that I happen to be doing those as well, too. Nate, thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it. I always love coming on with you. I enjoy talking football. Last little thing I'll say real quick here that I agree with you in regards to Ambry Thomas. He's the type of guy that has all the tools. The physical side, anywhere he wants to be on the field, he can be there, and he can be there quickly, and he can make a play on the ball. Like, we've seen that. So I don't know if it's something mental that we need to see from him. And it's like, I'll be honest, to me, it's like, it's frustrating because of those things. I can't teach you 4.3 speed. I can't teach you that. I can't teach you the ability. I can teach you to bat a ball down, but I can't teach you soft hands that's going to catch and make like a crazy interception. I can't teach you to run with Odell Beckham Jr. Like, I can't teach you those things, but I can teach you the mental side of the game. And so for me, I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know if it's just other things mentally. I don't know if he's dealing with anything personally. I'm not even trying to insinuate that. It could just be that he's struggling right now and he will be gaining some steam as we get further into the season. We'll see. But yeah, 100% with you. The consistency isn't quite to where we need it to be yet. And it's frustrating for the simple fact that he can do whatever he kind of wanted on the field with his athletic profile. He really can.
Yeah, absolutely. As always, Jamal, thank you for joining me. Tuesdays with Jamal all throughout the season. Come right here every Tuesday. Me and Jamal will break down the game. We'll talk a little about the coming game, all that stuff. Thursdays, always with Kevin. Not this week, though. Had something come up, so we won't be doing. We're going to try and do something pregame before the Vikings game if we can. Obviously, schedules and all that. But always Tuesdays with Jamal, Thursdays with Kevin, Niner Nate's Nonsense. Season 2, let's go. You can find me at Niner Nate 49 on Twitter. And Go Niners, man. Another preseason game, a little less important, but still important for figuring out who's going to be on this roster. So excited to watch, excited to see more of this team. And one more thing. The hype train never stops, baby.